Hello Dashers, this is John and I'm back with a third video to provide some important information about what I've learned and to assist you guys in making more money and holding on to more of your money. If you've not checked out my previous tutorials, please watch them before you watch this tutorial, especially the 201 version. This video will be adding to the information I've been sharing in the first two videos. They're only about 15 minutes each, so it won't take too long. Now, I've been getting requests to talk about the guaranteed pay that the company has started to offer during peak times during the day. And I guess they're just in need of some dashers. Since they're offering this peak pay, also they've increased the referral bonus by like 200%. So I think it's a fair assumption that they need more drivers out there. But you know, I'm not really sure why they were caught off guard by the drop-off in the drivers. I mean, in my opinion, this is a seasonal issue. All the students who flooded our market during the summer break are back at school. So it seems pretty basic to me that this type of situation would arise. And I'm sure the same thing happened last year. I mean, this can't be a new issue. I mean, if you look at some other industries, say the retail sales industry, they bulk up on workers before the Christmas holidays. They know it's going to be their busiest time of the year and they're going to need more staff. So why they were caught off guard and with their pants down, I'm not sure. But anyhow, enough of that. Let's jump into the question here. Do I make more money when I do a lunch shift with guaranteed pay, or should I stick to your normal strategy? And this strategy was described in detail in the DoorDash tutorial 201. Well, actually, I ran the numbers on a recent dinner shift, so let's look at them. It was a shift from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So we're talking about 3 hours in total. Now, the guaranteed pay was $18 per hour in my area. So that's a total of $54 in delivery pay for the dash. Now, it sounds good so far, doesn't it? The delivery rate in my area is only $6 per delivery. So I'm making 3 times that rate, right? Well, sure, if you're doing 1 delivery per hour, which I'm sure is not the case. But let's look at the numbers. Remember, the numbers don't lie. The first thing that we always forget about, I feel, is tips. As I mentioned in my last tutorial, tips account for a large percentage of your pay. In my case, in my most recent calculation, they accounted for 40% of my earnings. Actually, on a few shifts, I made more in total tips than dasher pay. It's probably just a temporary situation, though. That probably was just a really good night. Yet, if you look closer at these guaranteed pay rates and some of the restrictions they have, if you read the fine print, you don't get $18 an hour plus tips. Now, that would be great. What they do is they add the guaranteed pay to your tips. If it comes up to more than $18 an hour, you just get what you made. If it is less than $18 an hour, then you get the guarantee rate. So let's take a look at this dinner dash here. You see here the list of orders, these 7 orders here on the right side of the screen. This took actually a little bit over 3 hours since my last dash took me around 8:45, about 8:45. But if you look at all the orders, they add up to $217.48. Now, if you calculate the tips, we take that amount and multiply by 14%. Now, this gives us $30.44 in tips. And I think I have a little screen here that we can look at there. If you can see that here, I'm going to adjust the camera. All right, so we have $30.44 in tips. Now, if we add in the $54 of guaranteed pay, we come up with $84.44. Then we take that $84.44 and we divide by 3, the 3 hours that we use, and that comes up to $28.14 per hour. So I actually made $10.14 more per hour than the guarantee. Now, this was an actual shift with real numbers. But let's dig a little bit deeper here, because I wanted to share something else here that I've been thinking about. Now, the average order size was $31.06. Now, I admit that this is a slightly higher average order size than at other times during the day. But really, why wouldn't it be? It's a dinner shift, and in general, the average order sizes are larger. You remember from Tutorial 201 that as a general rule, I recommend not accepting any orders under $20. Now, this is on a regular shift. I also mentioned that if your average order size was over $20, you would make even more money, which is exactly what happened. So without really trying, I kept my over $20 rule during this shift. Yet if you look at the individual orders, 2 were under my $20 rule. The other orders were larger, which made up for it, so the average order size came out to $31.06. Now, I could have been assigned some McDonald's orders, as I call them. Sometimes they send these small orders that are sometimes only $2.99, but that would probably not be very likely during this busy time frame. Now, let's look at something else. In order to get the guaranteed pay, I need to accept over 90% of the orders that are assigned to me. In this instance, I actually accepted 100% of the orders since I wanted to run the numbers when I got home and not get a different payout result because I broke the rules. Yet, do these restrictions and rules help you make more money? That's the question. Or is this just a variation in a different way of the acceptance rate issue that we discussed last time? Now, they obviously want you to accept the majority of the orders assigned. They need all the dashers that they can get during these days for these busy shifts. Sure, I get it. But the guaranteed pay is the hook which keeps you accepting even small orders. I mean, someone must have been running the numbers back at corporate headquarters. I mean, you got to remember that this company was founded by 4 students from Stanford University. I mean, these are pretty smart guys, and who more than likely have even more smart guys working for them. So someone back there who was really good in math calculated that on average, during a lunch or dinner shift, if you calculate the delivery pay and tips, you come up with an average number, what I call the magic number here. And that will reduce that. If they keep to that number, it won't reduce their profits. This is the number they use as a benchmark, and then they make sure to pay a guaranteed rate under that number. So what is that magic number? Well, let's see if we can make an educated guess here. If we go back to my dinner shift, you remember that I did 7 deliveries, okay? And those deliveries were at $6 per delivery. All right, so that's $42 in guaranteed pay. Now that's the normal rate. Now let's assume that we did $200 total in order amounts, and then if we take 14% of that total, that's $28. So then if we add up those two together, the $14, the $42 plus the $28, it comes up to $70. Now, we divide that $70 by 3 hours, and it comes out to $23.33 per hour. Now, so then by offering $18 an hour, it's well under that number. In fact, they could offer up to $22 per hour and not risk having to come up with extra pay for you. Now, I think this falls in line with what I have experienced. I'm just trying to get this focused here down a little bit further for you here, but it's not cooperating here. There we go. Okay, I've done several lunch and dinner shifts over the past couple of weeks, ever since they started to offer the guaranteed payouts. And I can only think of one shift that I received an extra payout, and I think it was only for like $1.06, if I remember. So I guess we get back to what I would recommend. I mean, how can you maximize your earnings? Well, looking at everything I've learned over the last 993 deliveries I've done, let's just go through it one by one. Number one, I would keep working the lunch and dinner shifts. You've seen that you make the most money per hour during those shifts regardless of the guaranteed rates they're offering. But at all other times, I stick to my $20 rule. Number two, I don't accept any orders over 8 miles in total distance. If they don't have a dasher close to that area, that is not my problem. Number three, I restrict the restaurants where I dash. I have a list of restaurants that I refuse to go to. After 2 or 3 deliveries to these places, you can get a feel for what is happening. These are the restaurants that do not have the order ready on time on a consistent basis. Sometimes I have waited for 30 minutes for an order after the time it was supposed to be ready. By the way, Postmates pays you for waiting for the order. Just FYI. 10 minutes is the maximum I will wait. If I recognize a trend of waiting for longer than this, I put the business on my restricted list. I ran my own business for 16 years. Now, when you run your own business, there are certain rules that need to be followed if you want to be profitable. The first is excellent customer service. Now, a few of the restaurants I've dealt with simply do not have their act together. Now, sure, maybe they're new to the platform, like P.F. Chang's in some of the areas that I've dashed in, and they haven't gotten the whole DoorDash thing wired yet. Okay, fine. I'll see you in 6 months. Or maybe it's a cultural thing, and they simply don't realize that Americans, especially in the area I dash in, are in a hurry and move at a higher speed. Well, they're going to need to adapt. Whatever the reason, they still burn your time and cost you money. Number 4, I try and stay in an area that I know. Trying to find that restaurant that you have never been to burns time. Sometimes I need to look up a business online and call them and find out where they are. Now, this burns more time. I also, in general, don't go to a restaurant that is located in a mall for the same reasons. You have to, number 1, you got to try and find parking. You got to try and figure out which parking area is the closest to the entrance you need to be at. You got to find on the map of the mall in order to find out where they are located, etc. More time burned. I also been getting to know the apartment complexes and business addresses in my area. I've become familiar with the procedures for getting there and for access to the various locations. Now, this saves time. And as you know, most customers don't provide helpful information. They don't tell you that they are at the Motel 6 or another hotel. They don't tell you the name of their business. So in your mind, you may be looking for a residence when in reality, it is a business. More time burned. Now, on a final note, and that's why I have this little picture of the phone up here, I'm not sure why they've discontinued the Dasher assistance by phone. They simply say to use the app. Well, oh really? And what if the app is not working? Then what do? We know that this app has had problems in the past. And we also know that the issues with the delivery never happen while you're sitting comfortably on your couch at home. But right in the middle of a dash, your app seems to drop out. Or something happens. It's always at the worst time. So then, how do you get the customer address? If the app isn't working, you can't do it through that. And if they have no phone number, what do? Well, I guess the customer's just SOL. So I guess when I think back in it, I guess they don't have that many smart guys working at headquarters. All right, well, that's all I have for now. So please respond below with any comments you may have. And good luck dashing.